I did want to ask you, so about the deuterium thing. So,
Okay.
so every time, periodically, like I'll hear people talking about this, and I remember listening to a couple of YouTube videos with Jack Cruz, like maybe 2 years ago, or maybe even
Hmm.
longer than that. And I'm like, who is this lunatic? But,
Right.
you know, he apparently, I mean, I know a whole lot about him, but people seem to have a lot of respect for him. And there was some scientific stuff that he did that
Hmm.
was really impressive. So people gave him
Hmm.
a lot of like leeway to be talking about this stuff and not just thinking he was some kind of crackpot.
Right.
But you know, but I hear about it often enough from people that I respect that it's kind of like, another thing that I have to worry about. The plastics, the vegetable oils, and
Right.
now deuterium. I don't even know
Everything's
what
killing
this
us.
is.
Right. So I think I found out about it maybe a year ago, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a complete eye opener for me because I had never heard of anything called deuterium.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and let me just try to explain this properly so I don't get people confused. So deuterium is, I believe it's a hydrogen ion. Is found in water, and basically, so you have regular water that's H2O. Deuterium is an additional hydrogen ion that attaches itself to H2O, and it makes it metabolically heavy. So some people call it heavy water. And what that can do is impair the function of your mitochondria in your cells. And your mitochondria are extremely important for producing energy. Most people know it as the powerhouse of the cell. However, the number one function of mitochondria is actually to produce metabolic water. It's similar to camels. If you notice, camels can survive and thrive in deserts without access to water. And the way they do this is by utilizing body fat. Body fat has high amounts of hydrogen in it. The body breaks it down. It combines it with the oxygen that we breathe in, produces H2O, and there you have metabolic water. It's
Mm-hmm.
better than any water that comes in any plastic bottle. I don't care selling it to you. Metabolic water is the purest, safest, most beneficial form of water that you can use, and we all have access to it. Okay, so Fit Mom asks, how can you get that water? So that water you can get from your own body fat. What I've been experimenting with is something called dry feeding, whereas I get most of my hydration from food, high fat, low carb foods, rather than drinking water. So your body will tap into its own body fat reserves, and your body fat is filled with hydrogen. A lot of people think that body fat is just pure oil. It'll take the hydrogen from that fat, combine it with the oxygen you breathe in, and make water. I was just explaining that your body can hydrate itself using its own body fat. And what it'll do is break down the body fat. It'll actually destroy the fat cells, um, extract the hydrogen ions from that. When you breathe in oxygen in your bloodstream, the oxygen combines with the hydrogen and it produces H2O. So what you have is now metabolically pure water. That's how camels hydrate themselves. That's how actually a lot of mammals are able to hydrate themselves that way, which is why they can survive in climates that are void of water for long periods of time. Humans are no different.
Wow. So I mean, I remember learning that about camels, but I sort of envisioned that those humps were full of water. And
Right,
so this is like a far more interesting story.
right.
And then so what you were saying, so the fat cell actually gets destroyed when it's used to create water?
Right. So your fat is made up. A large portion of it is glycerin, hydrogen, and some other elements. But there's a lot of hydrogen ions in your fat,
Mm-hmm.
and your body will use that to combine it with oxygen to make water. And it's a much better way of hydrating yourself. When you're drinking processed water from other companies, your body still has to metabolize that. It has to make it molecularly similar to its own metabolic water, and that takes time. Not only that, but drinking plain water, it actually leaches electrolytes from your body.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times people would drink water and they think they're hydrating themselves, they're actually dehydrating themselves because they're leaching out a lot of sodium, potassium, and magnesium from their bloodstream. If
Right.
you can, modify your diet in such a way that you teach your body to hydrate itself using metabolic water, you'll find that you can go for long periods without requiring exogenous water. It's how people dry fast. When you're dry fast.
Are you dry fasting?
I used to practice it. When I do dry fast now, is usually when I'm at work. I work 13-hour shifts. So I'll go to the gym in the morning. Once I come out of the gym, I'll eat a high-fat meal. And then I work for the next 13 hours without drinking a single drop of water. And I'm not thirsty at all. And the reason for that is because my body is first using the fat from the meal that I ate to produce water. Once it's done with that, then it taps into my own body fat and utilizes that to produce water. So I can go a whole day or even 2-3 days, as I've done before, without drinking water and not feel thirsty. I don't have a dry mouth. I don't feel dizzy. I don't feel dehydrated because my body has a sufficient source of fuel to make its own water.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it blew my mind when I first figured that out because I, like yourself, I thought the hump was mostly made up of water.
Yeah.
And then I realized it's pure fat pretty much. It's pure fat. And it all clicked for me. It all clicked because I realized before I even found out about deuterium, I would go to work, not drinking water. People would get on my case for not drinking water. They thought I was going to pass out. And I was never able to explain to them why I wasn't thirsty. So when I watched that podcast about deuterium last year, everything started clicking. This makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense,
Yeah. Actually, Sadzi asks what causes shakes and lightheadedness while water fasting?
So sodium depletion, sodium and potassium depletion. If you're water fasting, if you're just drinking plain water, that water is going to leach out electrolytes. And you're going to feel dizzy. You're going to feel lightheaded. You're going to feel like you're about to faint. That's because your body's low on both sodium and potassium. Those are your two key electrolytes. So what you want to do is drink something called snake juice. A guy named Cole Robinson came up with this. It's basically water with sodium chloride and potassium chloride added to it. You want to get, I would say, anywhere between 4 to 6 grams of both per day if you're just purely water fasting. That way your body can tap into fat. You still have electrolyte reserves and you won't feel that dizzy lightheadedness that most people feel when they water fast.
Yeah. And I feel like I might even have needed a higher percentage of salt because when I would try to fast using snake juice, I still would get headaches and stuff like that. So I feel like I needed even more. But it's hard. I feel like I've never quite gotten the salt thing right. And I don't know, it's a struggle. So if I try to do more than a day, it's a hardship.
Yeah. And it also depends on your activity level. Obviously if you're exerting a lot of physical activity, specifically cardio, if you're sweating a lot, you want to consume more of those electrolytes to replace what you're losing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So for everybody who's listening, I guess, check out Dr. Paul Saladino's his podcast. I think it came out, he released it today, maybe, or yesterday. Yeah, but it was pretty interesting. But if you go back in time, I think Jack Cruz was the first guy who was, talking about it a lot. So you can check that out too. And while I'm sending you away to places, I have a new YouTube channel called Healthy Keto Living with Ade, and my name is spelled EDE. And Jason is soon going to have his own YouTube channel, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And a bunch of people have, or someone asked along the way, can we continue this conversation and do this again? So absolutely.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, yeah.
Really enjoyed this. I think that, we have a good rapport here. And, we have a lot to offer. And let's see. Somebody asked how long you could dry fast simply utilizing metabolic water.
I think the longest reported dry fast is 14 days. I'm not recommending you do that. The longest I've done is 7 days. However, I prepared myself beforehand. I was water fasting. I was actually eating OMAD and then went into a water fast. And then right before I started my dry fast, I loaded up on a lot of sodium and potassium to kind of, endure me throughout the 7 days. If you're new to dry fasting, try just 24 hours. For most people, that's going to be a huge challenge. To abstain from food is one thing, but to abstain from both food and water, completely different experience. Try 24 hours. You will be remarkably surprised. And then from there, you can increase your tolerance by working up to 48, 72.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it was sort of a negative story, but wasn't there a Chinese food delivery guy that got stuck in a NYCHA elevator for like 3 or 4 days, and he ate the food, but then that was gone, and then he had no food or water for like 3 days. Do you remember that? That was
No.
like maybe maybe it was like 4 years ago. It was pretty
did he
terrible.
not make it?
No, he lived. Eventually they found him, but he was like locked in this NYCHA elevator for like 3 or 4 days. I think it was in the Bronx too.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
I fantasize, but I used to think about that. Like once I got used to fasting, I was thinking, if I ever find myself in some wilderness or some place with no food or water, I'm fine. Like I've done this before. I know what my body's capable of. I don't need to panic. It gives you a certain level of confidence when you know what your body's capable of doing. So
yeah, well, you're ready for
listening,
the apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly. I recommend everyone try dry fasting. Don't go for 14 days. Don't be crazy about it. Try 24 hours first, and then just test your tolerance from there.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
easier if you go into a dry fast from a keto or carnivore diet. If you go into a dry fast from a carb-based diet, you're going to have a very hard time because you have to jump through that carb withdrawal, and most people tap out before the 24-hour period. So start with keto or carnivore, deplete all of your glycogen stores, all of your glucose stores, and then go into a dry fast from there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and FitMom130 says we're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. And a whole bunch of new people joining. Hey, welcome.
Oh, the Carnitarian.
Yeah. So
she has like the best pictures of pork belly on her page.
Yeah.
I'm really jealous.
Oh, that's right. So you were the one. The Carnitarian was the one that did the pork belly yesterday. That was all
right
zigzaggedy cut.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
It looks so good.
Yeah. I'll say, I don't know how you cut something up like that. I guess that has to be the butcher. Yeah. So do you have any other things that you have going on or things that you're going to try, in the near future? Any new biohacks?
Yeah, I want to re-experiment with this dry feeding. So basically it's similar to, it's sort of like dry fasting. You're still eating high fat, low carb meals, but you're not drinking water. So I've done this before for about 2 weeks, I think. But when it was time for me to exercise, I was running into some issues. I want to re-experiment with that. So basically, I will be receiving all of my hydration from food and my own body fat. So I want to see if I can go for a month without drinking any water at all, just utilizing water from fat and from my own body.
Man, you are completely free of deuterium. Wow, that's pretty cool.
I definitely have to work on that YouTube channel. I'm hoping to have it started before the end of the year for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm working on a personal trainer certification. I really want to start getting into the fitness industry, help people not just lose weight, but actually, build a strong body. I feel like building a strong body is great, a great investment into older age. It's not just about looking good in clothes. Like you want to have a strong, healthy body. So when you get into your older age, you feel like you can maintain your independence. So I definitely like to get into that.
Awesome. Well, I'll be your first, client. I definitely need a trainer.
Awesome.
I definitely want to do some more lifting, but that's awesome.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, I mean, I this was fun. My first live.
So let's do it again, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pleased by the amount of audience that we have. It was great experience.
Okay. Yeah, we actually had quite a bit.
Right.
So that was really nice for the middle of the afternoon.
Right,
So if you
right.
don't mind, I am gonna, if I can figure out how, I'm gonna repost this onto my YouTube channel, and
Okay.
you know, that way we can you know, spread it wider and further. So
Sure, sure.
All right, so it was great to talk to you. Thank you for everybody who was watching. I
Thank you,
really
guys.
appreciate
Thank you for
being
watching.
here. Come follow us on Instagram, and you know, definitely check out our pages, and you'll be hearing from us again soon.
Likewise.
All right, bye.
Thank you, everyone.